Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. One of the best things that the WWE has added to the WWE Network is the old WWF Saturday Night's Main Event. This is the 3-disc set that came out back in 2008, giving the best matches over the whole series. But just this week, they put up the first 3 years of the show on there. So not only do you get the best matches along the way, but you get a lot of the other matches that you don't see on this set. And I watched my first episode tonight, and I was very impressed. It still holds up to date. You can tell that there are a few minor theme changes along the way, but that's not something that honestly I really complain about when I'm watching this. Saturday night's main event was something that took place on Saturday night. It took the place of Saturday Night Live once a month on NBC, which was the biggest network at its time. So this was huge. It shows you how much, appeal there really was on the WWF back in the day, that it was treated like a real sporting event. Something that, honestly, as a wrestling fan, I wish we had eyes on it, like today. I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of talk about, Raw moving from USA, but there was some talk about it moving to maybe Fox Sports 1, or moving to, there was even a little bit of a small discussion about them going to ESPN or Fox. It was very, very minor, but if it did get moved to one of those places, it would still be entertainment, but it would be looked at with more eyes. It was sort of a real sporting event, and we would get a little bit more credibility about what we were doing. As a kid, I used to have to sneak around in order to watch this show a lot. With the show starting at 11:30. The show that I watched tonight was from 1987, so I was 6 years old. Honestly, a few times my dad would tape this for me. A few of these times I would watch the tape, not letting him know that while he was at the bar, I was up watching this, because my dad was a single dad, and sometimes I had to get away for some stuff, and he would not be there. But I watched Saturday Night's Main Event, Episode 9, one of the best matches ever from the history of Saturday Night's Main Event. I started with the greatest, and I went to it. This is the match that anytime there's the steel cage match, I beg for them to try and redo this sort of ending. Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff in a steel cage was a really big deal back in the day, and for this to be on TV shows you how big Saturday Night's Main Event was, that they just really honestly gave away free pay-per-views on TV in order to try and get more eyes on the WWF. You can see that this is this was 1986 going into 1987, since this was in December, so this is before they went out and they gave us SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble. This was basically, they had WrestleMania, and they had a shitload of house shows, and that's how they built their business. They had their TV, which at the time was on cable and syndicated shows, which is just straight up jobber matches. So in order to see this was honestly a huge deal. Hogan and Orndorff was the first match. They gave you the main event first, and they sort of worked down the card to where it was Blackjack Mulligan against Jimmy Jack Funk in what they called the Battle of Texas, in a match that honestly really didn't matter. But it sort of gives it that big time feel to it, because you know that they only have an hour and a half block schedule on there, so you might as well get your bigger matches out of the way first, and you wind up down at the bottom, so that bottom match sort of feels like it's just filling the rest of the show out anyways, instead of trying, like with Raw these days, you're watching it, that they get to run over the show a little bit into 8 minutes after the hour. So if anythany's going on in that match and it's not, before 3 minutes after, you're not believing any of the finishes. That's just the truth when you watch Raw these days, just because you know how it's going to go down in the main event. This one, had a big story behind it. Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff was a huge rivalry. When Orndorff came into the WWF, he was one of the first contenders to go after Hulk Hogan in the championship. Everybody knows about him teaming up with Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 1. Sometime around WrestleMania 2 is when Orndorff saw the light. He turned babyface. and he started actually teaming up with Hulk Hogan in a lot of matches, and Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff became close friends. Adrian Adonis, who comes up later in this review, started poking his head in and getting into Paul Orndorff's ear about how Hulk Hogan was thinking that he was a bigger star than Paul Orndorff. Hogan was thinking that basically he was the guy running the show. That basically there were two different tiers where, Hogan was up here, Orndorff was down here, and then Hogan kept blowing him off. Hogan kept stealing the spotlight. A lot of things when you watch Hulk Hogan matches from back in the day, honestly, is he gets away with a lot of stuff. It was almost like Hulk Hogan was a heel, but the fans cheered him just because he got away with everything. He cheated in his matches. He beat on women. He stole Macho Man's girl. There's a lot of things when you look at things. He used to just openly punch Sherry Martel in the face. And we popped for it because she was Sherry Martel and she was getting what she was asking for. What happened was Paul Orndorff tried to call Hulk Hogan on a television show as the thing was going on, and when the person picked up the phone, they told Paul Orndorff that Hulk Hogan was too busy to get on the phone, which got into Paul Orndorff's head that maybe that Adonis was right about what was going on. Basically, they had a tag team match where Hogan and Orndorff were in the match, and basically it was a lot like the Rockers breakup, where Orndorff worked the whole match while Hulk Hogan had to stand on the outside. And then in the next match, where they wrestled against, when did the actual breakup happen? Oh, it was a big match. I can't remember I can't remember who they were wrestling at this time, but when they did bump into each other, Hogan and Orndorff really had some heat because Hogan felt like, Orndorff was pushing him to the back and wouldn't let him in that tag match. So that, that was the breakup, which led to Paul Orndorff going back and getting managed by Bobby Heenan again, which set up this steel cage match where basically they fought. And as they climbed up to the top of the cage, and they were going down the cage at the same time, one on one side of the ring, one on the other, on two separate sides where the camera couldn't pick them up at the same time. Hogan and Orndorff both fell to the floor at the same time. You had Danny Davis, the heel referee, was over there with Orndorff, while Morella was on the other side. But Hogan, both referees were saying that there was that their guy was the winner, which led to Danny Davis attacking Morella. Because of that, Hulk Hogan attacked Danny Davis. One thing led to another, and they had to get back into the ring and restart this matchup. Hogan got the win in this match, which led to a protest by Bobby Heenan, where Bobby Heenan said he was going to take the tape of this footage, and he was going to take it to Jack Tunney, and he guaranteed that within a month, Paul Orndorff was going to be granted the WWF Championship because he would have fallen the winner. Of course, you have two of the best announcers in the game. You have Vince McMahon, and you have Jesse the Body Ventura, one of the best announced teams of all time. As they're out there, they're sort of going over the footage, and because of the editing, because the show isn't live, Vince was able to put like a split screen down with the time across the top to match to make sure that the tapes were going at the same time, and both feet hit the floor. So many things about this show were just spectacular because you had Dick Imbasol, the leader of NBC Sports, behind this, and Vince McMahon, and all the editing things that go on at Titan Towers and everything like that. It was a great show. One of the best things that goes about this is when they're hyping the matches and in between commercials, each wrestler basically had their own branded sort of logo. Like if if the Oakland Athletics were playing against the San Francisco Giants, you would have that, the Oakland A's sort of circular logo with the A's in the middle, and you have the San Francisco Giants with the S and the F, sort of branding them. You see those labels, you know those teams are playing. You don't have to actually write out the Oakland Athletics against the San Francisco Giants. You would have, like, each wrestler would sort of have their own logo, and that's how you could tell who those guys were, and they put those up on the screen, which made it feel like it was a real sport. Because of what this was doing, it was building up WrestleMania 3. We had a match between Randy Savage against George the Animal Steele. At the previous Saturday night's main event, George the Animal Steele had fallen in love with Miss Elizabeth, and he was taking a liking to her and was trying to sort of persuade Elizabeth to leave Savage and come to him, because she was like a babyface managing a heel while he was a good guy. Savage didn't want any of this. Savage and Steele were they were really having some blows in this match. At one point, George the Animal Steel gets knocked down on the ring. Randy Savage climbs up to drop the big elbow, and out comes Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, making his return after Randy Savage had climbed up onto the top turnbuckle and came off with the ring bell on Ricky Steamboat, crushing his larynx on the outside ring post. This was a big, huge angle, which led to their WrestleMania 3 Intercontinental Championship match. During this ordeal that was going down between Steamboat and Savage, George the Animal Steel got out of the ring, grabbed Miss Elizabeth and ran her to the back, where they said she was locked into a safe, secure location where she wouldn't be hurt by Savage, and Steele could get to her later. There's a big ordeal between Savage and Steamboat where they actually don't throw punches, so there's not a disqualification, but it goes on long enough that you basically forget that the match is even going on before George the Animal Steel finally gets back into the ring and actually has the match, where Savage does win it. Steamboat leaves only to return to really hype up that you really want to see Steamboat and Savage go at it, because you never see them touch, but you see Steamboat do the dragon pose like 6,000 times. Like, it make you think they're about to really get down to it. In the next match, which was also a WrestleMania 3 match, Junkyard Dog going up against Harley Race. This was, Harley Race was the king at this time, and he was asking, Junkyard Dog to bow down to him, and Junkyard Dog was saying, "I don't bow down to nobody." This was sort of like it was a Junkyard Dog match where he just got in the ring and he beat down on Harley Race to the point where Harley Race was trying to retreat out of the ring, and he was trying to take the count out at one point, but Heenan was asking Harley to get back in there, so basically Heenan jumped back into the ring himself to try and give it to the Junkyard Dog, like he was going to fight him himself, and as Harley Race was attacking Bobby Heenan, Harley Race jumped back in the ring and jumped Junkyard Dog from behind. The match was called a disqualification because of Heenan hitting Junkyard Dog, which then led to them having the crown put back onto Harley Race, and they fought around. Basically, it just led to it. In the next match was Adrian Adonis going up against Roddy Piper. This match was set up because of a previous battle where Roddy Piper cracked a crutch across the chest of Adrian Adonis that took him out for a little while. This match really was sort of to hype up their match for WrestleMania. You wanted to see them fight, but you didn't want to see them fight for that long. Adrian Adonis, I guess, was the first use of the Arrogance perfume shooter. I always thought that was Rick Martel's gimmick, but I guess he just stole it from Adrian Adonis. As Piper was on the outside, Adrian Adonis shot him at least 5 times in the face with the perfume, which made Piper go blind. Not blind like Jake the Snake went blind around WrestleMania, but which led to that killer a blindfold match where they had the hoods over them. I got to see that match. I haven't seen that match in a long while. That's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches when I was a kid. I really marked out for that. I really thought that those blindfolds were real and and all of that. But basically Piper gets countered out, which leads to Adonis to get the win. And then the final match was just Blackjack Mulligan beating Jimmy Jack Funk in a match. It just really didn't matter. They called it the Battle of Texas. But awesome episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. I think I'm going to start with this one. I'm honestly going to tell you the truth. The first few years, at least the first year, they're good. They're just not my era. It wasn't when I started watching wrestling. WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 2, I don't really connect with that much. WrestleMania 3 was when I really started getting into wrestling. That was the first tape that I ever saw. So those are the guys that I really brand with. That's Stevie Breach's shit right there. So peace out, everybody. Enjoy Saturday Night's Main Event. Hopefully you guys start making some reviews on these also. And just let me know. Worst comes to worst. Get the best of Saturday Night's Main Event. You can get this on Amazon in the used section for probably just a couple bucks. I didn't look it up before I started, but I would be really flabbergasted if it was more than $5 used. Peace out.